Guys, welcome back to the 21 Convention. Up next, we have our closing speaker for the Orlando event. He's a star of the community tapes. This is his 5th time speaking at this event to you guys. And he is one of the most passionate supporters of the 21 Convention. Please welcome Steve Mayeda to the stage.
Thank you. All right. So, hey, here's how we are going to do this. It's going to be a little bit different, and unfortunately, if you're watching this online, you're going to have to email us. I basically want to do this speech in a little bit of a different manner. And I thought about a lot of stuff, and coming to these conventions can really stimulate a lot of different ways to think. So I'm going to write a few things on the board, and those few things are going to be topics for us to talk about. And after I write those things, we are going to hand out the microphone and fill up some good time. First off, I'm going to write whoops, I can't even spell, which is a common thing, the sexual life. All right. And then I'm going to write down, we'll do, we'll say rapport cycling. We'll write down the red stack, the famous, the age-old thing. And maybe we'll write down some attraction cycling. And so on. So what's going to happen here is basically I want to interact with you guys as much as possible, and I'm going to try and bring it back to this. I may erase some stuff. I may keep it going. I love this, all the cameras. It's so good. But what's that?
Sorry, misspelled with sexual.
Oh, man. Well, there's 2 L's. Good job. Good job. So, and I wouldn't have caught that. So that all being said, let me start this off. So basically what I want to do is, who here has, who's been in the community for a while? Greg, Ben, nobody. Who's been in it over a year? All right. Who's been in it over 2 years? And who's been in it? You, Robbie, really? Who's been in it like, let's say, first 6 months? Really? All right. So, that all being said, when I say the sexual life, what does that mean to somebody? And be ready with the microphone. How about somebody who has been in it less than 6 months? Nobody, really. What does it mean to anybody who's been in it over a year? Greg, right here.
To me, the sexual life means embracing my sexuality and not being ashamed of it and enjoying sharing other people's sexuality as well.
Oh, you're so amazing. You're so ideal. How long have you been in this thing?
A few years. 5
years. Few years. Greg Libido, everybody. No, hold on to that microphone. And the reason why I wanted to do this is I wanted to start a dialogue. For me, this whole thing, look, I started out in pickup. When I met Greg, 3 years ago, at the 21 Convention, man, I remember really well. It was all about, I was in this phase in pickup where basically my first 2 years, it was about being a pickup artist, man. I ran with the best pickup artists. I competed with the best pickup artists, and at times I beat the best pickup artists. That's actually how I became known. You know, I hung out with Sinn, I hung out with CJ. The whole term SNL came from the whole Dallas scene in pickup where Asian Playboy was, who's now moved to LA. Brock, who's Prophet, who lives in Tampa now, was in Dallas. Like, all these people did all this shit, right? And we drank the Kool-Aid, man. We were into it. And actually, the first time I met Greg, who asked this, or who kind of like answered this question, Greg actually was also in the scene, and he was kicking ass, and it was amazing. And it was all about, what was it about? Like, it's about who you got laid by, how many times you got laid, the numbers you got, what you did to whatever girl, and all that sort of stuff that, I mean, still, if you were to have a conversation with me about the interactions that I had today, or yesterday, or the day before, or whatever, I would still love to brag about them because I got an ego. But the more I've gotten into the whole scene, the more I've got into the type of teaching that I do, and the more I've interacted with people, because that's what this is about. Our fundamental like rights of humanity are sexuality and socialization, man. It's what we all do. The more I got into it, the more that something like this made sense, all right? The more that it became a definition that I had to abide by, you know? That was a huge thing, and it's real interesting because Greg, who they stole the microwave, or, oh no, it's over there. Yeah, apparently you can't handle it. No, but he gave a really good answer. And what did I hear? I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was about exchange, it was about experiencing, and it was about sharing, right? And when we started in the whole pickup industry, because that's definitely what it's become, less of a community and more of an industry, we all wanted to take, we all wanted to get things, we all wanted to define ourselves in so many ways. And what's interesting about this, well, man, I really wanted to, let me see, I'm gonna have to ask Mike, if I switch this around, is it gonna screw up the shot? It's a little bit angled down. I'm gonna be writing a little bit funny. God, this is gonna be interesting. See what kind of talent I have. Yeah, a little tilt, but as long as you guys can see, it's good. I write the word sexual, I'll try and spell it right. This time I'm gonna write the word life, all right? And there's a few things when I write these things out that I'm going to, since I have the options of colors, none which are red, unfortunately. We'll start with green because it's the horny color. I basically have three things. If I'm gonna define sexual, that means being sexual with somebody. That means everything that you can think about in it. There's three components of it, and they go in an order. There's sex, all right? Obvious. Seduction, all right? And there's sexuality. Okay, so those three things make up my definition of sexual. And let's go over these really quick. Sex, it's an action, right? It's an action. We all know what it is. You know, it can be a whole variety of things depending on, you know, if you're Bill Clinton or not, right? Seduction is a process. It's that process of, let's say we start here, we meet somebody, and we end here. And probably, sex is going to be in the middle of that, but it's a process, it's a method, it could be a system, it could be all these things, right? And then there's sexuality, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier today with Max, but sexuality kept saying, what's sexuality? And I was basically like, look, your sexuality is your result of these two things. How you have sex, how you work seduction is going to result in who you are as a person, your identity, your sexuality, who you are. Big deal. So then we get to this life thing. And of course, this seduction always bleeds over. It does. We get to life. So what is life? Life is going to be three things as well. And we start out with, we'll do identity. Life is identity. It's experience. Oh, man. Yeah. Yoga time. And it's purpose. Okay. So these two things really go together and they really exchange. And they're big deals for me because I've spent basically the past 5 years, and guys who've been in the community a long time and gotten results, actually guys who've been in the community a long time and have gotten results know that a lot of people in the community don't get results. But the guys that do get results, there's something about us that made us crazy, that made us have to do these things. And then when we have to do them, we gain a certain sort of, hopefully, wisdom that come out of them. And it's pretty interesting. And when it comes to life, I say it's identity, experience, and purpose, all right? Where we mix things up, and my problem massively with what's going on in the whole pickup scene industry and what I have a lot of trouble wrapping around my head when I come to, different conventions, meet people, or see people doing pickup, see people really investing in pickup, and has a lot to do with these three things and these three things. So identity, instead of identity, in order to do that, we tend to have like the opposite of it. And it's okay to have both, but the opposite of it would be to be fake, you know? Put a mask on, all those things. Now, we see this all the time whenever we're learning something or we adopt something new. Hey, man, we have to fake it. You know, you always hear that. Fake it till you make it, man. It's an awesome thing. However, you fake it till you make it, and then you start having your purpose defined by those things, you're not gonna have any sort of happiness, right? We have experience, but instead of experience, we look at systems, we look at methods, we look at steps, we look at actions, we become obsessed with those things. Like I'm sure you can look at the self-help industry, you can look at the fitness industry, you can look at the marketing industry, you can look at the pickup industry, and you see all these things. You see some dude with a six-pack, or you go on the porn sites, and there's some dude with a 20-inch penis, and it's like, or there's an ad on there, 3 weird questions I brought up to a girl that made me do this. We look at the system, man, but we don't look at the experience. And instead of the purpose, we look at the result, all right? And those are all good things, It's all good to create some sort of alter identity, but if we're not respecting our own identity, we'll be empty. If we have a system, if we have a series of actions that we do, if we did go out and get an SNL, if we did have these experiences where it's like, oh man, I did this girl was this great breakthrough, but we don't respect the experience, we're left empty. And if we have purpose if we have result without purpose, we'll be fucked. So it may be a little bit hard for you guys to understand, but I'm gonna keep coming back to this, right? And I can get all into how this crosses up and all this crazy sort of shit. But that all being said, for the guys that have just started out in the industry, which you all raised your hands so I know who you guys are, and I'm going to call on you, what is it, let me ask you this, what is it that you expected out of your experiences, or what did you want? What did you want out of this? When you signed up for, I know when I signed up for my first email, I definitely wanted a few things, but what is it that you guys wanted when you first started investing in this? That could be your time, that could be investing in a workshop, that could be any of those things.
I wanted more options.
More options, well, what's that mean?
That means I looked back at the girlfriends that I've had in my life, and about 90% of them I met at work. And I wanted to see if I could start meeting more women more of the time.
Which is cool, man. There's nothing wrong with more options. But what is it? Let me continue to dive a little bit deeper here. When you say more options, and you started really looking at the stuff, what is the stuff that caught your eye on it?
The stuff in this community, you mean?
Sure.
Well, it kind of grew from meeting more women to just personal development, and actually that's more what I'm into right now.
Okay, what does meeting more women mean to you?
Meeting more women?
Yeah.
Having more fun.
Okay.
Having more social life.
Okay, cool. What's some other things that other people got? I know you two suckers raised your hands over here.
The reason I got into this was because I was sick and tired of not having the options I wanted with the women I wanted. I wanted to, have more women, have better women, to have more fun with those women. I was sick of getting rejected by everyone, and I was sick of, being left behind in the dust while other guys were out having all the fun.
Right. So before I started this speech, I was talking to some people, and we were talking about a few things. And one thing that always comes to my head when I hear stuff like this, especially when we hear what happens first when you get into the community. And as my buddy Terrence says, who is a pretty influential person in the decisions I make, which might say something about him as well as me, but he always tells me, he's like, look, man, if you're starving, every form of food looks good out there. Every form of food looks good out there, and you're willing to eat it because you're hungry. But if you're already hungry, you have options. But if you're defined by chasing that urge of what you want to eat all the time, and you're always in that hungry, mentality or habit that you've built or any of that sort of stuff, you're just going to eat shitty food. And we see that, definitely in American culture. And that's one of the good things about the convention. But when we start to get healthier with it, we start to develop and change. And as I was talking about this stuff before, I gave this speech and all that sort of stuff, I was telling a little bit about my story, and I'm like, man, it's so crazy because when I joined this community, I basically had girlfriends. I had a lot of crazy experiences with women that weren't like good. It wasn't like crazy, like, oh man, we're in Cabo San Lucas type crazy. It was not so great, I always think it's interesting when people talk about dark places and all that sort of stuff because it seems to be this kind of like comparing thing. But man, I know what that's like. And then I'd come to this community, I think I had been with 12 or 13 women. you know? So a lot of people would say that's pretty good, you know, 28 years old, 12, 13 women, all right. Now, 2 years into it, 2 years into the community, and I was with like some pretty aggressive dudes, man. And it's weird because there's a lot of my identity attached to this, even though I'm also at the same time saying, hey, look, man, there's kind of like a crazy toxicity that came from this. After 2 years, I had sex with 80 women, all right? 2 years and some change, we'll give it that. And everything that you guys described, you know, about what you want, and even worse than that, you know, because a lot of the times I'll hear stuff like, man, I just want to get laid. I want to be liked. I want to have this experience with women. And I think if everybody was like really, really honest in this room, because when you're hungry, when you don't have anything to eat, man, everything looks good. I want to be able to have a girlfriend that's a fucking model. I want to be able to go into a club. I want to get tens. I want to own the club. I want to be the shit. I want everybody to respect me. I want to fuck this bitch. I want to do da-da-da-da. I want to do all this shit that I see in porn, because none of this shit makes sense. You know, because I see sex as only as an action, not as an experience. I see sex not as my identity, but as a mask. I see sex as a result, not as my purpose. And I'll tell you what, man, everything you guys said after 2 years of being in this community, I felt. And the worst feeling that you can ever feel, and anybody that's had experience in this industry. Dude, look at that. Look at that. Where do you want me to take it from, Mike? Actually, you weren't paying attention. Okay. So look, man. This will be fun for you editing-wise. This has happened to me so many times on stage, man. Oh, jeez. Okay, so, you know, when I started out, I was defining, you know, my sex, my actions of sex, only as an action, not as an experience. It was a mask that was getting it, because all I wanted was a result and not a purpose, and all those things intertwined together. And man, I'll tell you what, like the worst experiences in my life, and when it was just like terrible, there were those times, and anybody who has experience, like a lot of the guys who are also instructors in the room and whatnot, and Greg, I know you, would be when I would be hooking up with a girl that was my ideal, that was everything that I could have ever wanted, whether that was personality, whether that was looks, whether that was any of those things, and it was completely empty, man. It was completely meaningless. And believe me, there were plenty of times when I had sexual experiences with people that weren't my ideal, probably more than the ones that were, but that was the worst. And I think that's what we get from, man, I don't hear enough of that in the community. And whenever I hear that in the community, that's when I go, oh man, that's fucking awesome. That's amazing. That all being said, what happened is, especially in last year's speech, I started talking about the difference between pickup and seduction. All right, so pickup has all these things which make it up. And just to really briefly paraphrase, it would be pickup is like a lot of things. It's negs, it's teases, it's dominance, it's body language, it's escalation, it's value, it's social proof, it's all this sort of shit. But if there's no purpose beyond it, and there's only a result that we're looking for, then all we're going to be defined by, our purpose is going to be defined solely by our actions, right? It's going to be defined solely by how we, God, man, by what we do, you know? And it's not going to be a process, it's not going to be an experience, and it's not in our sexuality, then it's going to be defined by that. So that being said, what I really, really want to do in this is keep the mic moving. And when it comes to pickup and seduction, how do I say it? There's been a lot of talk of the convention, like where people have been like asking me, like, well, what's your thing? You're really good with hired guns. Or wait, is it strippers? Or wait, is it, you know, night game or day game or all that sort of shit? Dude, I've been doing it a long time, man. I teach in very different ways. I have no idea even how to package my teaching, except I customize everything to you, and I teach seduction, which the difference between that is pickup is defined by its actions, and seduction is defined by its purpose, which is pleasing women and loving women and experiencing more with women. But that all being said, I want to open the floor towards people who have questions towards things. So please ask. More of a dialogue. Nobody, really. I'm telling you, man, it's going to be good. It's going to get good once we get rolling.
One time I had a conversation with you, and we were discussing the plethora of women and a part of us being left each time as we chase that goal.
Man.
Can you comment on that and expand?
Let me tell you something. This is one of my favorite things. I went to Europe for the 21 convention, and my time before that experience in the convention was some of the most redefining experience of my life. I went to Las Vegas with the World Series of Poker guys, had some great experiences with women there, but the poker guys are pretty crazy. If you know any professional poker players, beware. And then I went to Austria and hung out with my friends. It was just great, man. It was great. I get to the 21 convention, and I'm like, see all this chaos going on, and it's just, I talked to Jason Savage about shit like this, and it sucks that he's not here, and James Marshall about this, and even Sash about this, and we're like, what is this? This is so like non-sexual, what the fuck? And then I eat dinner with Mike one night, and man, it was like the movements of it was fucking awesome. But we were talking about this, and there's a difference, you know, when you come from a purpose of actually getting stuff, or when you come from a purpose of actually exchanging from a woman rather than getting a result from a woman, it's a big thing. And we were talking about sex, and we were talking to somebody who had never had sex before. And he was asking us about all this stuff in the industry. And we were saying, no, there's all these things. And I forget how the dialogue went, but it wasn't me. I believe it was Mike, and he said, you had said something that made me think about something, that every single girl that you experience something with, every single woman that, whether it's sexual, mainly when it's, or obviously when it's sexual, but even when it's social, and every person that you experience something with, you leave a part of yourself with. A little bit of you changes, a little bit of you moves, and a little bit of you augments. However, then there's that one that completely changes things and completely redefines you. And man, I'm telling you, one of the, like 3 or 2 years ago when I heard Hypnotica speak, he was talking about this too. He said there's that one, and all of us are afraid of that one, and all of us are at war with that one, and all of us learn all these skills so that we could dominate. But one day there's going to be a girl that comes along and she's actually going to change you. And that is when you start to actually work your sexuality. That's when you really find out who you are. And that's when you really find the beauty of actually interacting and exchanging with another human being. And here's the thing, man, which also made me think of this. And by all means, if you have any questions, just raise your hand as this is going on. But, Ben, we'll get to you, but let me finish. Hand the mic to Ben, but let me just finish this in a second. Is that when I'm talking to somebody, it has nothing to do with day game. It has nothing to do with hired guns. It has nothing to do with a stripper or a prostitute or whatever. It has nothing to do with some chick or whatever in the hallway in the daytime. What it has to do with is absolutely this, is that I care and care about the human experience more than anything else. And that is it. And that's what allows me to connect with them. It doesn't matter what the clothes I wear. It doesn't matter the DHV story I tell. It doesn't matter that the fucking obscure social value that I have. It matters that I want to connect with them. And that the only two options that I have, if I get rejected, are this. We are not qualified to talk to each other, being one. I'm not qualified to talk to her, or she's not qualified to talk to me. Number two, I didn't assert myself good enough and allow her to experience it. That's it, man. Technique, all that sort of shit is secondary to it. Ben, what's up?
Okay. So the topic of your talk starts out with loneliness. So given that,
Yeah.
you got to, there's about, okay, so like, the reason why there's like people who come to dating coaches
Right.
is because they're lonely, okay? And a lot of them, it's because they have too much like shame you have listed there. They got too much shame and they're too in their head and they're too afraid. So, they're not even getting to the point where they're just like, okay, I'm having random sex and it's not, it's not meaning anything. It's like, how do you get those people to just get out of their loneliness or to, get out of their head and actually start having experiences?
No, man, you need action. You need action to get experience. But if you have action without experience, you're screwed. But here's the thing, man, is loneliness. This is the fucked up thing. pickup is a tool. Very few people get good. How many people here know somebody that's gotten good at the tools of pickup? Like, I know like 3 people. I know that are good, man. I mean, that like can go like, I'm gonna go get laid. I know you know people, and pretty sure you know people. But I mean, only, I think 3 or 4 people raised their hand. 4 people, including me, in this room of hundreds of people. But the thing is that's kind of difficult. That's kind of difficult. But pickup is still a tool, right? It's a tool. Just like a knife is a tool, or a gun is a tool. Your dick is a tool, right? As our gracious audience members have just said. You're like me. That's good. But those are tools, right? We'll get to you in a second, Josh. But those are tools. If you hate women, if you're lonely, if you're ashamed, if you're any of these things, if you are full of love, then what does that tool do, man? You know? What does that knife do? What does that gun do? That knife doesn't necessarily cut bread. That knife doesn't necessarily be used for a tool to better things. The knife isn't something that sits next to you, you know, with your family eating dinner or anything like that. It's a tool that can be used to hurt and all this other sort of stuff. So when we actually learn the skills of pickup, if you actually get good at them and you hold on to those things like loneliness and shame or fear, then man, it's completely that. I've done many interviews and it's like, man, when I was like, God, when I beat CJ and Sinn for SNLs in 1 month or whatever it was like, dude, that's when I realized, I'm like, God, man, what am I having sex with? It's not even this chick here, you know? What am I having sex with? And what's so funny is, you guys want to know some interesting levels of technique, it would be, that's when I started to relate with women. What am I having sex with? I'm having sex with my shame. I'm feeling like a woman when I have sex with somebody and it's a great experience. It's this really cool thing happening, and then afterwards all her friends talk, or that guy talks shit on her. Or afterwards she finds out that guy like totally played her or fucked somebody else or got another girlfriend or whatever, and they feel bad about it, you know? And in some ways it allowed me to get pretty insane rapport with women and talking on, relating to that level. Don't get any ideas, Greg. But that's what it was, man. That loneliness doesn't change unless you work on it. And that's one of the sad things about the industry, man. I hear tons of people speak. I look at tons of people's products, but where are they helping guys with that, man? They're helping guys with a fucking action, not an experience. They're helping guys with a mask, not an identity. Teaching people to have sex when they don't even know how to have sex. What's up, Josh?
What you're talking about seems to me basically action versus experience. So it seems that you're talking about superficial versus an actual connection. When I go out and I talk to a lot of girls, a lot of times it always starts out superficial. Sometimes it gets to that connection, sometimes it doesn't. How do you progress to that connection more so, I guess, is the question.
Yeah. Which you need technique to do that, but this is interesting. So how many people, where do you guys go to a club to pick up women? That's where you practice? Cool. Go out in the daytime? How many people go to a place they actually like to pick up women? All right? And so part of the thing is like pickup is like pretty obsessed with clubs or daytime or these specific styles, right? And here's the deal. This is the reason why I would heavily endorse anybody going to a place they actually liked and enjoyed to pick people up, is because you're a slave to that culture. I can come in here and give a speech at the 21 convention, but I cannot change the 21 convention. I can influence it. I might be able to change parts of it, but I am not going to redefine the 21 convention. I can go into a club, I can go into Wall Street, and I can be the shit, man. I can wear the suit and dance and do all that stuff, and man, I'm a bit too old for that, but when I first started, man, I was fucking crazy, man. You know, like Sinn, CJ, any of those motherfuckers would tell me to do something, I'd do it, man. And you know, even if it was like just to make an ass out of myself. And I could, man. If anybody, you have actually met my theater friends, and they'll tell you stories of how crazy I was. But dude, I would do whatever, man. I would do whatever, and I would get attention. And I could even be the shit for that venue for a night. I would redefine its culture. But guess what? The next day, that place still exists, and I'm gone, you know? So we have to submit to the cultures that we're practicing our pickup in, right? So if we're doing it day game, if we're doing it at night game, if we're doing it at somewhere on Wall Street, we have to submit to Wall Street. There's a superficiality that comes into that. However, what are we serving? You know, we're not serving that. we're serving something bigger than that because we value, well, whatever it is you value. If you value connection, if you value sexuality, if you value emotion, if you value whatever different types of unique experiences, those are the things you go for. But how do you get there? Well, let's do this. How do you get there? Let me go into this. The quote of the weekend is, "Get the fuck away from me, I have a gun." Actually, we'll go back to the black marker on this. So, get the fuck away from me, I have a gun. Let's go into what I call rapport cycling, right? And I talked about this at the last convention thing, but let's actually talk about the recipe of this. You need a topic, you need an opening qualifier. We'll shorten it just because I can't spell. And you need a ground. The ground has all these parts which have to do with perspective. Look at this, we're making things confusing. We have perspective. We also have what we're attracted to. Man, now this angle's getting hard. Attracted. And why we're asking them. And then we have the most amazing part of it all. We have the challenge. Really quickly, and definitely watch some other stuff to get the gist of this. This topic is based on our identity. This topic is based on what we're attracted to. So Josh, take back the microphone. Own it, baby. Own it. And let me ask you this. I'm going to ask you this. What is it that you're truly attracted to?
Confidence in girls.
Confidence in girls.
Yeah.
And what does that mean?
That means a girl who can be independent. That means a girl who's going to have fun, not going to be sitting in the corner of the club, texting or upset about something.
Okay. But you don't want to talk to a girl sitting and texting in a club, or you don't want her to be challenged in that way. You want her to be confident even when she's experiencing the ideal what with you. It could be a walk in the park. It could be sex. It could be any of those things.
Were you asking for a specific?
Yeah, how deep does that go? Because that all comes down to you, man. That comes down to your identity. I know you know it.
Yeah, I mean, if it's sex, if it's a walk in the park, something that's a real connection, a real experience with her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I don't think it matters. I think there's an ideal, for each experience I would have with her.
Cool. So I just want everybody to, who's thinking about this stuff, or if you're watching it at home, I want you to realize the depth of what I'm going for with this topic. So if it's confidence or security, what our challenge is truly going to be based on is what our ideal is, how we're going in this, how we're going for this rapport cycle. The two things of a rapport cycle that they're supposed to accomplish is qualification, which has a whole nother definition to it in itself, and rapport, but it will get there. So we figure out our topic. Our topic figures out our opening qualifier. Our opening qualifier is something like, hey, what do you think about security? So you might have to do, or what do you think about confidence? So you might have to do whatever superficial shit, but your superficial shit, and this is like game 101, is to isolate. That's it. Isolate them so you can have this conversation. If it means taking them over to the side, if it just means turning them, that's fine. If it means taking them to another venue, isolate. But that's all it's serving, because we want to serve what you value, what you want to be experiencing with her. And the more you can define that, the more you can base your actions on it. So then we go with our opening qualifier. What is it that you think is being confident, right? And then we go with our ground. Our ground is going to be perspective, what we're attracted to, and why we're asking them. That's got to be in there. So our perspective, and keep it 20 seconds or so, right? So our ground would be something along the lines of look, man, see, I think attraction is a lot of things. I think confidence is a lot of things. I think it can mean how you stand up in a fight. I think it could mean all this sort of stuff. But to a woman, what is most attractive is if she could be so independent that if she knew what she really wanted, wasn't owned by her superficiality, but could see them in a balance and what really served her, man, that is hot. That's what's attractive. So the reason why I'm asking you is, well, fuck, man, I just met you. I see all this stuff, but I think there's more. I think there's more. You're an attractive girl. You get a lot of attention from guys. So let me ask you this. And this is really important because it's got to serve the depth of my identity, the depth of what I am attracted to. All right? So let me ask you this. What would be like a good challenge? Because I like to hit it a little bit harder. You could say, let me ask you this, like, what's something about you that is completely like you think is the hottest thing, but you're a little bit insecure about? Like, what is that? And let's say she can't answer because, man, that's a heavy qualifier. Well, guess what? You ground again. You state your perspective on it. You state why it's attractive, and you ask why you're asking them directly. And it just cycles and cycles and cycles. And the more you know about your identity, the more you know how to identify those things, the more that challenge is going to be fulfilled. And guess what? If she can't answer, then she's not qualified to talk to you. Simple as that. Or if she gets pissed off at you by some process of what you're doing, but you feel you did everything right, then you're not qualified to talk to her. And you walk away, man, because what is it that you're valuing? You want to have an experience that you can exchange with a confident woman. The more you can define that, the better you can challenge it, and the better you can basically do the best you can at putting a road out in front of you. What else? This man, Roman. I love that name.
Thanks.
It's my old photo partner's name.
What's that?
My old photo partner's name.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice, nice.
For 26 years, well, actually more than that now, he photographed only strippers. Yeah.
What a guy.
Yeah.
Tell him I said thank you.
Yeah. Interesting dude. He's like this tall, too.
How many do you sleep with?
His girlfriend would get pissed off. I said, no. a lot. Yeah.
I really liked what you were saying in the beginning about the details of pickup versus like our purpose in life and all that.
Sure.
And my questions regarding that, in my experience, basically when I come to these events and I learn all these techniques, I feel like I get set back. Because when we go out and then I'm in my head, I'm like, oh man, what is the right thing to say? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it good? All of that stuff.
Right.
It really gets in my way.
Right.
And I've done a lot of work on my purpose and grounding myself and things like that. So when I'm really present to that and I go out and I'm having fun, I'm really appreciating the women for themselves and wanting to learn about them and being really interested in them. I don't really remember what I'm saying, but it seems to work better. So how do you stay in touch with your purpose, stay in touch with your appreciation for the women while learning these techniques and just like plugging them in? Tools?
See, okay, so this is the thing, man. People think purpose is this big deal, but purpose is right here where you fucking stand, You let them, well, unless it messes up, but let it, because we'll probably dialogue it a little bit out. But your purpose is what's going on right now. It doesn't have to be a big deal, man. It doesn't have to be great. It doesn't have to be grandiose or anything like that. The thing is you have to know what you like, And if you, let me go into a little bit about, man, this is so crazy.
Why don't you just turn it around and use the other side?
Because the other side's dirty. Is it that hard to see? Is it difficult to see here? No? Okay, so we get into attraction cycling. There's attraction cycling, rapport cycling, and seduction cycling, an amazing brand, huh? Woohoo. So what makes attraction? We have like opening, right? We have teases. All right, we have baits. We have a whole bunch of shit, but usually this is what I kind of like limit attraction to. There's a whole bunch of stuff. You could say it's value. You could say it's like social circle and all sorts of social proof or whatever. But how come nobody does this? How come nobody makes all these techniques go into you? You meaning what it is you fucking want. How come nobody? Like seriously, it's so frustrating. Like, are the people that teach this stuff that like gray or inert? But how come nobody gets it to be you? You want to know how easy? Like, here's one of the secrets. So the red stack is like awesome. This like totally customized product. But here's what it is, man. When we get into like teases or negs, I write customized teases and negs for people. So Roman, what's something that you're really attracted by? Like if a girl gave you this kind of attention, right? If a girl gave you this kind of attention, what would make you go like, oh man, that's awesome. That is so, I love this girl. What would be one thing?
Like what would she do? Like if I saw her across the room?
If you started talking to her and you're doing your stuff, and she you're already talking to her, she gave you that type of attention, what would it be?
That's a good question. She's laughed. She likes to laugh.
She laughs,
enjoys.
but she laughs at what from you?
She laughs at herself. That's
She
one
laughs
thing.
at herself.
You know, like
What a
she
bitch.
takes herself
No, just-
lightly.
Okay, so so she can be easygoing. She's easygoing person. Check this out. I'll do some opening stuff, but here's a tease. Here's a neg, and this is all I'm going to do. We're going to take one of our standard negs, and we're going to put on like a little spin of what Roman finds as attractive, right? Just a standard neg, like, oh my God, I still can't get along with you. It's an easy one. And then what we're going to do is, because attraction game is all about reactions, man. It's a slave to seduction. There's nothing really great about this. It's a means to get isolation and generate some emotion or seduction, or both. But that's it. That's it. It's just kind of the superficial veneer. But why don't we have it go in a direction that feels good to us? So we could just sit here and we could say like, hey, like, you know, she's talking to you, man, I can't get along with you. You are a girl who takes yourself way too seriously. You know, so then what's going to happen is, hopefully, she builds a reaction. She's like, no, what are you talking about? I'm totally real. Man, you are a girl that, like, has no sense of humor, man. Man, you are a girl who takes, like, shit too seriously about yourself. Like, man, you probably only attract assholes. All right? So you're starting to try and generate attraction that's going to motivate you. And guess what happens when you do that? Like, here's how quickly it can move. Like, 30 seconds or less. You meet somebody. They start messing with you. You start to sense something about them. Let's say I'm Roman, and I know, man, I really like it. I love it. I love it when a girl, starts to laugh at herself, but in a kind of cute sort of way, because you're going to define it more. The more we again, when you think about that sexual life stuff, and we look at experiences, but instead we have actions or systems, the more we have experiences with our actions and the things that we think about, the more we're going to define them. So it just keeps cycling around. But you know that it's like, man, she has a cute sense of humor. She laughs at herself, but she's kind of sweet. But at the same time, she kind of like warms up to me. And man, that's so feminine. We can go, man, dude, geez, see, I can't even talk to you anymore. Fuck. You're one of those girls, you don't even know how to be a woman. No, just joking. But you have no sense of humor. Because see, you're not even laughing. What the fuck? And she starts coming back to you. She starts reacting. She starts going like, well, no. Oh, I can't believe you said that. And you say, okay, well, actually, come here for a second. Let me see something. You don't need to isolate big time. She just says, you just say, come here for a second. Say, let me really ask you, what to you is humor? What to you is that? Guess what that is? It's an opening qualifier, which turns me into my ground, which turns into my challenge, which then turns into ultimately my definition or frame. Keep going. What do you got?
Well, I can see what you're talking about. You can have the interaction go and have the interaction be about something that's aligned with your purpose or whatever you want that night, which I understand that too. Like whatever's calling to you that night. And it's almost like to me, in my mind, that's like working backwards. What I'm curious about is what I'm curious about is how do I, even before I approach or even go to talk to someone, if I'm already thinking in my head about all these techniques and stuff, then for me, it's kind of, it's backwards thinking for me. For me, if I'm grounded in what I want, whether it's my life purpose or whether it's just that night to have fun and meet some new people, if I'm already grounded in that and I bring that forward, then those things just generally work themselves out.
Cool.
So how do I stay grounded in that when I'm trying to learn new techniques? How do I just maintain my ground and my sense of being?
First off, let me give you one of those like asshole self-help guru like overall perspective things, right? That I always hate when people do this.
I love those.
Yeah. But when people are playing sports, right, or people are going into some sort of fight, or people are going in for a test, you have a game plan. You have all the studying, you have all that sort of stuff. But the experience is taking the fucking test, doing the fight, or playing the game. That's the experience, right? So you go into a game plan, but shit, man, that shit goes out the window, and you have to live real life. So the more you have a game plan, that's good, but the more you obsess is that game plan being more important than the experience, you're going to fuck yourself. And that's where everybody gets all crazy. Like, no, man, I talked to this guy, and he told me if I do these things, but if I do them in the right way, because if I do an opening and a neg and I gain value, and I've shown that I'm better than them, and they don't like me, then I must be doing something wrong. Fuck that, man. That's why pickup teaches you how to hate yourself, man. And you'll see this with gurus. Oh, like, I mean, their lives are just all fucking crazy. But if you're going to hire somebody, look at their life, see if they've got something that you want. And then 2, they should have clients that you can readily access and see if they have achieved what you want. But for you, what's important, man, is, and I always hate it when people say, well, just have fun, just do what you enjoy. But really, when it comes down to it, man, be social. Realize that there's nothing more powerful. And this is why I want to dialogue with you guys. This is why I teach, man. I don't really, well, I want to make money, but I teach to experience with people, man. And everybody that does something with me gets this, especially if they're in Austin. But I feel that socializing is, I don't have a big religious definition, but I think it is one of the most spiritual things you can do when you can talk to somebody and expect nothing in return. And that's huge. So if you're in your head about stuff, get talking to somebody. Get talking to somebody and don't expect a result, but do everything you can to show yourself. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Right? So it's like, hey, you know what happened to me? What was it? 3 years ago, it was like there was all this crazy pickup shit. I was getting sued. You know, I guess I'm still in that lawsuit. You know, Sinn was burning me on this, and all these pickup people are doing this, and I was having all these I had all these girlfriends, but no real girlfriends, and I had all this sex, but no intimacy, and I was at the 21 convention, and you know, it's like this. That's why this is a really important event for me. And this guy Justin, who was attending the 21 convention, actually told me, he said, Steve, why don't you go for the next, until I, you know, kind of, and I trained this guy. This is a guy I coached. The motherfucker's giving me advice. He's like, why don't you just be honest to people? Why don't you just go be honest to people? Like, if you're having a shitty day, just say like, dude, I'm having a shitty day. I need to talk to somebody. And dude, I actually did that. You know what sucked? I fucking sucked at game. I sucked at game, and you know what also sucked is I got pissed off about it. And I got mad about all these stupid things, but eventually I got better at socializing with people. And it still wasn't, I had to relearn what honesty was and connecting with people and all that sort of stuff. But dude, mixing of technique, I mean, I come from dude, Sinn, CJ are pretty technical guys. Shaft, who you guys probably don't know, pretty technical dudes. It was always, and we charted this shit out. Like, we charted out emotions and, you know, what sadness meant when it switched from happiness, and we experimented in field with all this stupid bullshit. But it got me to understand a technical map towards how to have these experiences with people. But that was it, man. If anybody has approach anxiety, I say, man, all right, approach anxiety is 2 things. You're afraid of the hot chick in a red dress, and it's like, oh man, fuck, dude, this chick is the hottest chick. How do I talk to her? How do I talk to her? That's one thing. But if you go in a club and you're afraid of every woman, then that's another thing. And that's where you have to start seeing the value of simple, basic social interactions. Mm-hmm. That's a beautiful thing, man. It's what changes lives. You know, it doesn't change, fuck, man. I can guarantee you, however many hundreds or possibly 1,000 people sitting in this crowd that I'm talking to right now, I'm going to have less of an impact on your life than if I were directly in front of you. And same with me. I mean, fuck, man, I'm the same as you guys. We're all equals in this room, man. You know? Seriously, when it comes down to it. Answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
What else you got? Anybody else? I do not know your name. Jacob.
Oh, I'm Jacob.
Yeah.
And you said so.
Carried up last night at Wall Street.
God, yeah. When you said about knowing what you want.
Yes.
Most people who start off in this, well, at least I did. I didn't really know what I wanted.
Sure.
And this whole experience thing, for you at least, it seems to be a spiritual experience.
Of course.
You bond with people, you emotionally connect, etc.
Yeah.
When people first start out with this, since they don't have any experience, they don't have the good or the bad, wouldn't you say they just have to do stuff? They would have to go out and have to have the bad experiences?
But dude, no, absolutely. It's a great question because I'll get on the phone with guys and they're like, hey, yeah, I saw your thing and your coaching program or whatever, and I'll say hey, well, dude, what are you attracted? What do you want? And they'll be like, well, I want, and you can totally tell they've had no experience, which is fine. But it's important that they know what they want because guess what? I can sit here and define thoroughly what I want. When I start experiencing, that shit's gonna change, you know? There's one thing for certain in life, the one thing for certain, no matter how much you plan, it will end up different, you know? It's like, shit, dude. So, in like everything that we see here, it's like, this is the system to learn where you're going to get this. Like, fuck, man, I don't wanna ever get a black belt in seduction. It's like, I don't wanna get a black belt in life. I wanna keep living, you know? I wanna keep experiencing. But look, the thing is I think it's very, very important to define what it is you want or what you think you want. Because right now, what I think I want, shit, I've had a pretty like stressful week. I think I want to relax. I think I want to, you know, I think I want to see my girlfriend. I think I want to, I think I want to go hang out with my friends. I think I want to go outside and sit there and smoke a cigar. You know, that's what I think I want. In fact, I know I fucking want those things. But until they happen, that's going to define things. And here's the thing, man. It's not about getting what you want. Life has nothing to do with getting what you want. It has to do with wanting what you have right now. That's huge. You know, there's plenty of times when I will feel lonely or whatever, you know, or afraid of things. And we were talking about an experience, God, just in the other room. And it was like, man, I can do I've been like a badass motherfucker. I like, you know, when so-and-so was fucking with my friend, I peed in a glass and poured beer in it and made him drink it and, you know, or whatever, you know, stupid shit. And like, I've done some cool stuff. Some guy, like there's actually, speaking of odd experiences, there was, we were on some party bus and some guy like wanted to fight me and I was drunk and he was drunk and I like out-alphaed him and he shut up. But dude, there were also times when I, you know, backed down and couldn't do it and had to realize that I was afraid and that I was those things, you know? And that is, that's acceptance, you know? And so when it comes to things, especially like seduction, when it comes to things like just getting attention, wanting to be loved, wanting to be seen, wanting to go out and have a social life that I don't have, I have to realize that it's going to be a process. And the things that I want, the things that I'm really trying to focus on to achieve, that's great. But the experience that I have in that is the beauty of it, man. The path that I walk on is the most amazing thing. So, I don't know, that was kind of like one of those spacey Zan type of answers, but you got it, you got it.
The path that you're on is the important part. It's not the destination because life is a journey. You never stop. It's a process. I got it.
Absolutely. Yeah, cool. What else? There was somebody on this. Maybe not. Everybody's got it all figured out. AJ. Look at that man. This man came up to me in the parking lot.
It's not AJ, but it's okay.
What is it?
It's JP.
JP.
Yeah. My question is, when someone is stuck focusing on getting results instead of the experience, how do you backtrack and how do you fix that?
Dude, don't get me wrong. Results are good. Results without experience is what I'm talking about. So, and you can hold on to the mic because the more I know that it's specific, the more that I know specifically about it, the better. In fact, I am going to... Technology. Woohoo. So the more that if somebody gets too stuck on the results, well, check it out. Last night we were in field. Somebody saw a really, really hot girl, right? And we've all been there. Saw this really hot girl. And he's like, God, look at her, right? Man, she's amazing. Look at that ass. And I'm like, dude, fuck. Jeez, all right. This is something pretty nuts, man. God damn. Like, I get it, dude. Go make that happen. And he's like, no, and there's like other dudes around. I'm like, no, man, go and take it. Fuck, go and get in front of them. I mean, if you want it that bad, go and get in front of them. Like, go and do it. Fucking no, shit. And that's where we get caught in that dynamic of results versus experience. So we can get so in love with getting a result, but we're afraid of the experience. So we have to detach from ourselves in order to get those results. And we have to always, pretty much come back to who we are. What are the specific results that you're at, or maybe from your past experiences or that you've seen with other people?
With my last girlfriend, she was basically she had every quality I wanted and everything. But I was so stuck in the result of getting the right relationship, having the right dynamics, that I was failing in the experience of enjoying my time with her.
Yes. Dude, man. I mean, the best way, and this is what I truly believe is like part of, you talked about the spirituality. If there was a spirituality, because I can't figure shit out on my own, but when I can talk to somebody else, I mean, when I can talk to somebody else, I can change. And fuck, man, I'm a pretty stubborn person, so that I think is a spiritual move. But man, dude, I can't tell you how many times I've been there. I mean, it's crazy. And I was talking about this with my buddies, but or in the other room before the speech, but I have had so many girlfriends. There was a point when it was like, I would meet a girl that was so cool. Like, you'll meet a lot of girls, and it's just kind of like, I was just doing this to do this. I was just kind of like seeing if I had the chops or whatever. And then you'll meet a girl, or whatever your skill set is, that it's like, man, this is a girl, dude, I could date this girl. Man, I am going to date this girl. Man, this is a girl I'd love to hang out with. This is a girl that I would want to have sex with. Fuck, now I'm having sex with this girl. And it's like, this is an amazing experience. Fuck, shit, Jesus Christ. And then there were times when I'd be like, man, I'm not a pickup artist. Or then it wasn't even about being a pickup artist. It's like, man, I'm insecure. Like, she's talking to this other dude. Oh, man, dude, this other girl likes me. I'm not fulfilled. I got to prove it. And all those things are happening. And again, what am I afraid of? I'm afraid of the experience. Not the experience of sharing her, but the experience of myself, And man, I was just talking to Max about all the guys in the room, Max about this, but I was like, when it really started to get bad for me, what were we talking about? Oh, we were talking about SNLs. I'm like, man, it was the worst, because I'd start to get these SNLs, and it was just like emptiness. Or fuck it could just be sex with anybody, and it was emptiness. And I could do, and Ben said, well, were the girls happy? And I said, no, man, I could please them, and I could be a good date. And I could go hang out with them afterwards, and they would feel like women, and they would feel beautiful, and maybe they'd had a better sexual experience, but mine was pretty damn good. They felt empowered afterwards. But I didn't get anything from it because I was afraid to experience how they would change me. Just remember that one of the first questions Mike said, or from the dialogue that I had with him was basically, man, you leave yourself, with every person you interact with, there's a little bit. And the deeper you get with somebody, you leave a little part of yourself. But that person that redefines you, man, that's some fucking crazy shit. Fuck social pressure exercises. Fuck getting out of your comfort zone. Your comfort zone is when somebody feels you right there, and you can sit there and say, hey, I'm open to see more. You're going to pull shit out of me that I never knew. But for a crazy person like me, I had to keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and I still can, But that's because it's that insecurity that I'm afraid to see myself, And so that's when when I'm uncomfortable, when I'm afraid, what do? I put things in a box. I make it neat. I put it in a system so I can make sense out of it. And then I can go like, hey, guys, I'm good. I got A, B, and C, D down, I got my checklist here. You don't have to see me. And that's the difference between results versus experience, or results without experience. Make sense to you?
Yeah.
Cool. Did you say, no? You were just stretching? Cool. You want to be my doctor? All right. What else? Does this make sense to any of the new guys? Is this going over people's heads? Yeah. Mario. Yes. Yeah, I just wanted to say her name to be like dominant, right?
Yeah.
So you guys would know.
Thanks. Can you quickly elaborate again on what you mean by I'm afraid to see myself? Is that you're afraid to connect deeply?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
So, is it Josh? Joshua? Yeah. Jacob. God, man, I'm terrible. JP, and I know a JP. I should pick up. But anyway, you were talking about wants, right? So I can list out my wants, but until I start actually going for those wants, it could be like, I want a glass of water. Until I take the step to go get that glass of water, it's going to start making sense for me. So myself, the more I interact, some people can go and meditate for years, and that's cool, man. I wish I had the discipline to do that, and then you get to know yourself, or however the story goes. And I know people who've done that, man. I know a guy that's meditated silent meditation for 26 days, and he's a pretty awesome guy. Actually, I just texted him before I got on stage, and he's like, I'm in Italy, but good luck. And he's he's a really cool dude. And I met him in the most bizarre way through this whole industry. But the thing is with me, I have a different path. I'm active with things. You know, I don't have that sort of discipline maybe yet in my life. And so in order for me to find out myself, it's going to be through all you people. You know, it's going to be whoever is in front of me. And shit, dude, I'll tell you, right now has literally been one of the craziest fucking times of my life. Like, fucking nutsball times. And this is why it's like, I always think it's funny when people talk about state changes and this NLP and eradicating fears and all this sort of stuff, because, dude, I am like, I have basically been inventorying myself in a pretty fucking heavy way, going through all this sort of stuff, my resentments, my relationships, you know, what were my motives in those things, even my stuff about sex, what are all those things? And dude, that all comes from me interacting with people. That all comes from me socializing with people. And the more I do that, the more I see whatever mirrors in front of me. You know, the more I see that I get pissed off about this and that, the more I see that I get happy about these things. Because it's not just the lows, man, it's the highs. The more I start thinking that I'm a gracious person in life because I got all this adoration, also defines my lows of loneliness when nobody's paying attention to me. But all those things start to hold a mirror in front of me. And I'll tell you what, man, I mean, dude, last week was probably the craziest that I've been in about 3 years. Like just completely losing my mind on things or stability towards things. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, people go through those things. Or maybe there is. Maybe I'm lightening it. But it's because, man, I'm doing this inventory. I'm pulling out all my shit. And guess what? I'm standing in it. You know? I'm standing in it, and I got to look at it. But, man, we are so obsessed with never facing that shit. And I'll tell you what, man, when you start having sex with other people, when you start interacting with other people, when you start, whether I'm being hired to coach somebody and I'm talking to, like you, Mario, right now, and I'm going like, hey, man, look, let's talk. Like, here's a part of me, show me a part of you, and we start exchanging in that sort of way. Man, it might not feel good all the time. And that's life, man. That's fucking life. And a lot of times, I'll tell you what, a lot of times I have to revert back and not go on my emotional reactions because my ecology of self, all the things which are made up of me, you know, convince me to react and be pissed off and whatever, and I have to go off certain principles. You know, certain principles of going like, hey, you know what? Dude, I can't have this conversation right now. I really respect you and blah, 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 blah. Or, hey, dude, I stepped on your toes. Dude, I don't know how to do anything. I don't know how to experience this. You know, when we're talking about that sexual life shit. I don't know how to experience this. This is new grounds for me. Fuck, you're angry at me? I did something wrong? Okay, I know how to do these actions. Just like pickup. I know how to do these. I can rely on these actions. I can rely on this method. All right, I'm going to do this. Cool. Thank you. Walk away. But that's how I have to learn how to experience those new emotions. That's how I have to learn to experience those things, man. If you ever want to know how insecure you could be as a man, try having 3 girlfriends at once and really care about them. You ever want to know how, oh God, man, it just gets crazy, you know? But why I feel I have to do those things to get those experiences, man, that's part of my insanity. But Greg, what's up? Wait for the mic.
I really like the subject of your speech, and being more genuine is something I've actually been working on a lot in the last few years myself as well. One problem I have with this in general is, and I thought you might have some good advice, is sometimes I go to more, I guess, elite parties or exclusive parties where their environment is extremely, extremely superficial. Mm-hmm. And that's one time where I really seem to have trouble breaking through that boundary. And hopefully you know what I mean in those kind of environments where, I mean, it seems like everything there is fake. And that's like the one time that being a genuine person, which I usually am fine with, is super difficult to actually break through this kind of this facade, which quite frankly I hate. But sometimes I'm placed in that environment and I want to know if there's an easier way that you found to get genuine. Because when I try being genuine with those people, it seems to...
Man, and let me just say here, look, dude, I think I have a lot of pride in what I do. I have a lot of pride in working with people, but it's just like, man, you know, I'm not in a place to give advice. I'm in a place to share, you know, and you know that of all people. So think of that when you're asking me questions or whatever. But how many people can relate with that shit, man? You're at a fucking party or you're at a club and you're just like, fuck this shit, man. Who are these people? Like, God, dude, fuck, you know? Everybody, I wish, was raising their hand. I can't relate with all you people, man. But to me, that happens all the time, man. All the time. It's like crazy, man. And there's two things that you can do, man. There's a couple things you can do. But one of the things that fucks with me, because when that happens, check this out. When I am on the outside of something, let's say I didn't fit in with you guys, because none of you guys raised your hand for that last question. Let's say, yeah, one second. Yeah, but I got you. But let's say I didn't fit in with you guys. You know what I would do? I would judge you guys. It's such a, like, whenever there's judgment, it's because we can't relate, you know? And that's what I get, man. I start to get motherfucking angry. So a lot of the times, I have to leave. I can't be a part of it, man. I have to get out of there. But the other thing I can do is learn to accept, you know? And the more I can accept, the more I can share. And the more I can be in your circle. So an action might be to leave. An action might be to go in there and force yourself to socialize. But the ultimate goal is to actually relate with those people. Dude, this happens to me all the time. I don't drink, I don't party. Well, I mean, I like hang out with people, but I don't do any of that shit, man. And I'll be at like, especially at upper class things when people are just like really into being like, oh yeah, well, you know, Jacob was having some problems and, you know, I mean, we were thinking like, we didn't want to get the Porsche, but we had to get the Porsche, or whatever, you know, I just can't relate to that shit, right? You know, and it just makes me mad, but also I got to look at my reasons for being mad. It may not make you mad, but the more you isolate yourself from something, which goes back to even what Ben was saying, the more you're like not getting laid or feel you're out of the position of whatever with women, the more you're going to build up this anger and all this other sort of stuff. And, you know, I mean, dude, it's acceptance, and a lot of times it's for me to leave and to start doing the things that I like to do, you know? I'll just repeat it. Go ahead, Greg.
I was just saying, it seems like I can socialize in those environments.
Yeah.
But getting that genuine connection that you're talking about.
Yeah.
A lot of times, I mean, passing through and kind of fitting in is one thing, but getting that real connection.
So what he's saying is like, a lot of times he has the social skills, correct me if I'm wrong, to be able to, you know, survive or thrive or whatever in those situations, but at the same time, he's not having that genuine connection in those areas. And dude, man, that's sexuality for me. The more I do this, considerably less sex I have, because I'm saying I'm respecting myself in different ways. But dude, I'm a trial and error kind of guy that had to learn that. You know, and I think you are too, man, but that's what makes you beautiful. That's what, yeah, and I mean that. Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned earlier about how we leave bits and pieces of who we are with everybody we meet, and that we change everyone we meet in some way, and how everyone we meet changes us in some way. Can you elaborate on what kind of ways we change others if we meet them for just a brief period of time, and how they change us? And you also mentioned you were afraid of how you might get very close to a woman and she might change you. What kind of change are you actually afraid of her imposing?
Once she shows me, I know I'm afraid. I'll tell you that now. But no, we are social beings, man. We are fucking like amazing, amazing creatures. Like, think about this shit. What we think is valuable here, like we think like having a job is gonna get me pussy. We think having a job is gonna make me happy. They're necessary components. We think having more money. We think having a bigger social circle. We think like all this fucking shit, man, is what's gonna do it, man. And you know, if I do the right internet marketing tactic, right, Anthony? If I do the right internet marketing tactic, I can just go to any beach and just do it. Man, I can just do whatever's happy. It's fucking great. You know, we think all that is there. And let me tell you something, man. The more I realize about my own personal happiness, the less I need of any of that shit, and the harder it is for me to take away that shit. Not to say that you shouldn't have those things. Have them. But learn that the fundamentals of human happiness have to do with us talking to each other. All right? And when you get into the idea of vulnerability doesn't mean being weak. It means that I I value my experience that I can have with you over my fears of showing myself. That's what I mean, right? That is one of the most important fucking things that anybody could take away from these experiences with people, right? Like, that's fucking awesome, man. But if I think, if I'm too attached to that result, and I don't get that love for people, if I don't realize that I can influence somebody and also be responsible with that, but I don't also realize, and I'm not responsible for myself, seeing that, getting myself into bad situations maybe, or situations that I don't like, then, dude, my experiences are going to be polluted. I have to know that we're reciprocal, man, that we share in that way, man. We have the capability of doing so much by interacting with each other, and especially with men and women. Well, fuck, man, human to human. That's awesome, man. Because I'll tell you this, dude, I do not know, my mind does not fucking change for people. But if I can relate to somebody, and understand that somebody who's been through the same shit that I've been through can change, dude, that does everything. And then I can start doing my actions. And don't get me wrong, it's not just a belief or a decision. I got to act, I got to work. But I got to be around people like that in order to influence in that way. Now with women, what are some of the things that change me, man? When she loves me. When she loves me for me. I don't even know what me is, man. Me is a discovery that happens when I interact with people. I'm not saying that I'm like this confused ball of whatever, but shit, dude, I'll tell you what. When a girl starts challenging that, and it's like she has a sense of humor. And this is where it starts, man. This is the beauty. This is the fucking beauty of seduction and beauty of the whole process of this. But we get caught up in like the lines and routines. What do I say for this? And that's helpful, man. But the beauty of it is right here. What started with what Roman was saying. Well, I'm attracted to a girl who has a sense of humor. Man, but as I grow, that sense of humor becomes an interaction with me, and I love it. I love it when she looks at me and she can laugh at herself, or when she fucks up, or when, the chicken gets overcooked or whatever, or we're whatever it is. It could be a sexual experience, it can be a domestic experience, but still that humor is there and it grows in all those ways. But that somehow, that little thing, that spark that started off when we first met and grew into something, man, and it starts to get inside of me where it truly affects me, truly defines me, truly changes me, that's fucking scary, man. Because that's a power greater than myself. And if you're anything like me, man, I love all the shit that I can do. I can stand on stage and talk to thousands of guys in an audience. See, it went from hundreds to thousands that quick. I can do all that, I can have the skills to do whatever. But when in reality, man, I have to have something bigger than me, and that thing bigger than me is all this, man. It's all people talking. One more question, because I think I'm running out of time. Nobody, you guys. Oh, here we go. Hold on one second.
Thank you. Is there almost like some kind of a fear of connection, do you think? Not the connection itself, but when you connect with something, you put yourself on the line, in a sense. I don't know.
Is this a question like that has to do with you, or are you just asking me theoretically? Because I can give you some spaced out fucking answer, but,
Well, a lot of times people in life don't do what they really want to do.
Sure.
Everybody wants to go connect with people.
Sure.
Everybody wants to be accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And is there almost like, I kind of get the feeling that sometimes we don't actually want to connect with somebody, because if we do connect and there isn't that acceptance.
I know, man. We don't want the results that like we really want, because if we have them, we might actually have to live with them, And all these people, like, this is another thing which I always like, is they're always like, Steve, you don't want to be successful because otherwise, because you're afraid of it. What are you afraid of? And the truth of the matter is maybe that's the case, but dude, I just don't value like capitalism or whatever success in the same way that these guys who don't make any money but theorize a lot about it, do. But dude, when it comes down to it, we all want connection. We all want connection. We all want that. dude, I want all of you guys to like me, you know, right? And you probably want all of each other to like each other and all that sort of shit, right? But that's weakness, right? That's not dominant enough in pickup. But the thing is through my life experience, I also need to learn to respect that. And a lot of the times, there's a whole bunch into that, like wanting connection and getting the connection that can get fucked up. I want you guys to like me, so I'm gonna like be willing to be used or whatever in order to make it happen. And then we have all these dysfunctional relationships. I want you guys to like me, but I'm gonna chase attention so bad that, you know, it's gonna fuck me up. I want you guys to like me that I'm gonna like be in your face so much until you guys do or whatever. I want you guys to like me, so I'm gonna, you know, create the most shiny, white, blank board that you guys are gonna be attracted to and buy or something like that. But the thing is our want for connection, we're gonna have experience in our life, and we're gonna develop our purpose in our life. And through that, we need to learn self-respect. So our desire for that connection, I want all you motherfuckers to like me. But if we're not having the conversation that I feel is bettering me at the moment, and then later, as that conversation progresses, bettering you at the moment, then out of respect for myself and respect out of those things that I value more, humanity and the connection of humanity,
You'll give up that connection?
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
And a lot of the times I don't know how to do it, man. And I'll tell you what, all you people, when you are interacting with women, that's what gets challenged, man. Because it's a beauty that you will, like it's an intimacy that feels so goddamn good. It's amazing. It's amazing. But at the same time, it makes you a little bit scared. You know, it makes you a little bit disruptive. And it probably does the same thing for her, you know? And there's all this sort of shit. But no, man, it's a beautiful thing. And I'll tell you this, like, I think we got how much time do I have? 5. I got 5 minutes, so I'm going to end this with this, and we'll probably open up questions and see if I can strong-arm Anthony into anything else. No, just joking. The thing is the more we talk about on this stage, it's less of the conversation I would want to be having with you guys, you know? And the most amazing thing that happens in this world, the most amazing thing that I know of, you know, is an experience that we can have with each other, you know? I love teaching. What I teach, I mean, you can ask some of the guys that have worked with me, ask them where it's taken them, and that's cool. I can't really tell you, man. Everybody's been asking me, well, what do you teach? You teach this style of game. Oh, Steve does this, or wait a minute, Steve's too advanced to these things. Man, fuck. Dude, what I teach is so that you can hopefully be your best self through your experience with me. And through that, and man, I mean, the other fucked up thing about it is it's like, dude, I value humanity and connection with people so much, and I see it as such a cherished and awesome thing in everybody I interact with. And hopefully I can have an experience that can be maximized to the best potential. You know, remember those two options, that we're qualified to talk to each other, hopefully, and that I'm asserting myself to the degree that I can actually elicit something in you. Those are the two best things that I can hope for. But I hope that I'm having that experience with everybody. But look, man, what I teach is all those things when it comes down to the sexual life. Is your sex only an action, or is it an experience? Is your seduction not just a process, not just a series of steps, but something that you actually share with somebody? Does it define who you are? Does it build your purpose? Does it build your beliefs? Does it shape your identity so that you can share it with somebody else? Is your sexuality something which is always evolving? Fuck, man, I never want to figure it out. Just like I never want to figure out life. I want it to be constantly walking on that road. Is my life, remember, the sexual life. Sexual is an adjective for life, man. Is my life a mask, or is it me? Is my life a series of actions? Is it just a model? Is it something that's A, B, C, D, or is it an experience that I'm having with somebody? And is my life shaped by my results or some sort of checklist I build, or is it something that has purpose that I can carry to somebody else, man? And the thing is every single one of you guys can have that experience, you know? Everybody who is watching this, and it has nothing to do with me, man, because I am a slave to the world just like everybody else. We're all equal parts, and that's the only way that it can work, or at least that's how I see it. You know, there's no end goal, there's no hierarchy in any of this, man. Because if I have something that's better than you, how the fuck can I relate with you? If I have something that's lower than you, how can I relate with you? and we can all go out there and experience and have an amazing life together, dude. I will tell you this, man, there's so much about me that has been, like I said, I went into the 21 convention in London, and I had this awesome experience and had life-changing experiences with people, and it was beautiful. It humbled me as a person. And I walked into the room, and there was so much disorder and chaos, and like I'm looking at how this industry is shaping. The 21 convention's an amazing forum, but there's just so much stimuli, and there's so much desire for what this thing is, and pickup, and the seduction industry, and all this sort of stuff. I go back home, and I see all this chaos, and like I said, I'm in the middle of this inventory, and man, I am in the most like crazy, chaotic moment of my life, man, where I feel so much emotion and so much doubt about things. But the beauty of it is that I have faith in a few things. And I have faith in principles that I will live by. And one of them is to show up. And no matter how much I feel, this is one of those actions that I have to do because I'm afraid of what the experience is. That if I am asked to speak somewhere, or if I'm asked to be of service, no matter where I am at, I will take that job. You know, and I will take that and do that and deliver. And man, I'll tell you, this week and this weekend has been a crazy fucking weekend for me. Like I said, the last Saturday and Sunday were some of the most nutsball experiences for me. And I'll tell you what, man, all of those experiences in my life, when I was growing up and I thought I was like isolated, when I had whatever abuse happen to me, when I was like fucking, getting wasted and man, I just have so much crazy shit, you know, in the smallest corner and house of a room, thinking I was all alone and doing whatever, strung out and fucking isolating myself from everybody. Dude, I know what loneliness is, man. I know what those things are. But the one thing that has changed me is stuff like this, where I can open myself up to you guys and share and see what I get back. And hopefully afterwards, if you're interested in talking to me, man, I would love to sit there and talk to you and have this experience and hopefully have you influence me just as much as I can influence you. And if you want to do that, man, I'll be out afterwards and probably going to dinner. Hopefully I'll smoke a cigar on the patio and we can continue this. But guys, the sexual life is about living life. It's about being sexual, and it's about doing it while being you. Thanks a lot.